So in this video, what I want to do is make a bunch of items for our player to run around and collect. And so in my assets folder, I go to assets and images and items, and these are some images I might want to use. I don't even know what I want to do with this one yet, maybe power up or something. But for now, I'm just going to put some gems on the screen and let our player go around and collect them. So first thing we need to do is load the gem image. And so I'm just going to copy that line, and we'll change this to gem image. And it's in the items subfolder, so we have to make sure the path is correct. And it's called gem.png. We're good there. We need to make a gem class, and all of our classes start out basically the same. We have the class, it extends a sprite, and then we have an initializer which sets the image and the location. So I'm just going to copy the platform and paste it after the hero class. We'll just change this to gem. And for now, that's good enough. So now let's put some gems into the game. So it's going to be real similar to the way we made platforms, right? We're going to make a group, set some locations, and then create objects to put into that group. So I'm going to make a group. I'm going to do it ahead of my player. I'll do it after the platforms and ahead of the player. And I'm going to make a group called items is equal to pygame.sprite.group. And I'm calling it items because whether it's a gem or a heart or a key, we're going to put them all in the same items group. All right, they're all going to have work basically the same, so we can put them in the same group. And so let's make our gem lobes, and I'll make a list. And let's see, I want to put one like right here, and another one up here. And so if I look at my grass locations, you can see the grass is at the Y is 8. So let's say if we want to put one above this block, the coordinate above that would be 12,7. So I'll just do 12,7, should be sitting one off the ground. And then here's that other platform. And so here's the middle piece. So above 7,3 would be 7,2. All right, so now we have our locations, and we'll do a loop. So let's say for loc in gem lopes, and same thing as before. The x is right. The x is going to be loc. Each of these is a loc, so this would be loc 0, loc 1, loc 0, loc 1. So loc 0 is the x coordinate, and the y is loc 1. Let's actually make our object. So the gem is going to be a gem, and takes an x and y and an image. And then we'll just say items add g and put the gem in the items group. So we'll run it. And where are they? So what we have to remember to do, we have our items group, but we have to remember to go down to our drawing code and tell them to draw. So now we've got them. Okay. And so at this point, our player doesn't interact with them in any way. So let's see if we can get the gems to disappear when our player picks one up. All right, so I'm going to go back to my hero class. All right, so I'm in the hero, and we have this update function which occurs every iteration of the game loop, and the update function calls several helper functions, right? And this is just so the update function doesn't get real long. But what I'm going to do is make another helper function called check items. And so this is going to find out if we intersect with any items and then do something with them. So I'm going to copy this line of code right here just to get the list of items that we hit. And I'm just going to change platforms to items. And I'm going to change this value to true. So When we collide with a platform, we don't want the platform to disappear when we hit it. So we left that false. But if we change it to true, every time an item collides with the hero, the item will remove itself from the items group and therefore disappear from our game. And so now we just have to call our helper function. So we'll say self.check items, and we should be able to pick them up. There's one, and there's two. So I'm going to run this game, and you're going to see something that was kind of weird about that collision. Notice how, as I approach this, I don't really have to touch the gem before the collision is registered. So I get kind of close, and it went away. And what happened to me is, if I mouse over this, you can see that my gem image is actually 64 by 64. So this is the same size as a grid cell on my layout. And so the actual image is filling up this entire area. And that's why the collision registered when it looked like I only got close to it. But it was registering when my hero collided with these transparent pixels right out here. And I don't want that to happen. So one thing I could do is turn on pixel perfect collision detection in my game. But I'm going to hold off on that just because I'm worried right now that as the game gets more complex, that's going to be mathematically a lot more expensive than rectangle collisions, and it might cause my game to get a little laggy and run slow. So, maybe later we'll find out that it can handle it, but I'm going to avoid that for now. So I'll show you something else I did. I went ahead and took my gem image and I cropped it. I cropped off all that extra white space. And if I do that, it's only 35 by 28 pixels. Right, so I'm going to put that into my game instead. So I'm just going to swap out the image. So it looks good, except for, so the collision looked a little bit nicer, except for now, I can picture this box that's surrounding my gem, right? This is the grid cell. And what I noticed is that my gem got positioned so that its upper left-hand corner is in the upper left-hand corner of this grid area. And I want it to be centered in the grid area. So what I'm going to do is change the way I position. So when you set the rect X and the rect Y, what we're actually, this is referring to the upper left-hand corner. That's what the X and Y is. But we can also set a position by defining the center of the rectangle. And what I can do is say center X and center Y. And now I'm positioning this, setting the center of the gem when I position it. So if I run it, it's still not quite right. Right, which I'm going to put my hero there because it's a little easier to see for scale. But what's happening is, if you imagine this grid box, right now the center of the gem is on the upper left-hand corner of this box. And so what that means is I need to nudge it half of a grid box over and half of a grid box down. So that's easy. I'll just say, when I calculate the X value, I'm just going to add grid size divided by 2 to the X, and I'll add grid size divided by 2 to the Y of grid, and we'll run it, and everything is perfectly positioned. And now the collision detection looks a lot nicer as well. All right, one small detail here, notice how I used a double division mark. And this is because division can result in a floating point number with a decimal, and there is no such thing as a decimal pixel. And so when I do divide with a double division, what it does is ensure that this stays an int value. The decimal will just get truncated, and therefore we will never try to set something to like a fractional pixel location, which we can't do. All right, so now we can go around to collect the gems, but let's make them useful. Let's make them actually do something. So anytime you have an item in a game, right, when you collect them, what they do is right, when they are collected, they modify some attribute of a character. Right? So they could, they could give you points. You could count the gems, and maybe like in Mario, 100 gems gives you an extra life. They could give you extra health. Maybe you need a key to open a door, so they give you an ability to open a door. They give you invincibility. But items modify attributes of characters. And so what I'm going to do is give our character an extra attribute called gems, which is the number. So we're just going to let the hero keep track of the number of gems that's collected. And then we'll go to our we're going to go down to our gem class, and I'm going to add another function called apply, and we'll do self and a character. And so every time we make an item, we're going to give it an apply function, and the apply function is going to take a character as an argument, and the apply function is going to modify some attribute of the character that's passed in. And so in this case, our character has a gems variable, right? That's in the hero class, and we'll just say plus equals 1. So how do we get this apply function to be called? Well, we'll go back to our check items, and we're going to say for item in hits, and we'll say item.apply, and the apply function is expecting a character to get passed in, and we are in the hero class, so the hero will just pass itself on to the item. And so now, every time the character hits one of the gems, the hero hits one of the gems, his gem count will go up. So we'll run this, and now you can't see it, but the gems variable went from 0 to 1, and now it went from 1 to 2. Eventually, we'll have the count somewhere graphically on the screen, but just for now, for testing purposes, I'm just going to print character.gems so we can see if it actually works. All right, so let's watch a little space for you to see it. So just watch like right out here when I pick up a gem, and went to 1, and we're at 2 gems. So that is working. If we wanted to, we could, maybe if gems had some kind of point value in them, we could also, like if the character had a score attribute, we could modify the character score attribute as well. We could write some code in here that if the character reaches 1,000 or 100 gems, then the character gets an extra life, right? There's a lot of stuff that we can do. So, but anyway, all items are going to have the same template. They're going to have an initializer with the XY image, and they'll just have a different apply function, which describes what character attribute gets modified. All right, so that is an intro to how items are going to work in this game, and thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.